Okay, so we've had our sponge or our goulash sitting overnight. I let it stay out in the kitchen for a while till it started getting a little bubbly, and then I put it back in the refrigerator, keep it nice and cool so it didn't go too crazy. So now you can see it's got nice bubbles on the top, and you can start to get that fermenting taste or flavor or smell, and that's what's going to help us with some flavor in our bagels. So next stage is going to be adding the rest of our ingredients. So we're going to take this sponge and we're going to put it into our bowl here. There we go. Just make sure we don't leave any of it behind. I would put this right into water to clean it so it doesn't dry and gets really hard to clean then. And the next thing we're going to do is we have the rest of our water, and you'll see that in the ingredient list, and that's 270 grams of water, and we just add that in there. And then to this we have our flour here, we have our water, and we have our sponge or goulash, and now we are going to add a little bit of yeast in there. The total amount of yeast for this recipe is 1 tablespoon or 1 teaspoon. So what we'll want to do, we've taken 1/4 teaspoon already to make the goulash, so we want 1 3/4 left. So we'll measure it out here. That's the half. And then we got our 1/4. And you want to keep your yeast dry and in a cool spot. So we have that in here, and I'm just going to kind of mix it in a little bit. And now we can add our flour. That's the rest of our flour. And our diastatic malt here. And then we have our salt. I'm going to mix this a little bit and then I'll add in the salt. So I'll put it on our mixer. You could do this by hand easily, but I've got this nice and handy here. Now, when you are using your mixer to mix dough, be pretty careful. Dough is a tough thing, and do not overload your machine or you will burn it out. And I've done that a few times. So read the instructions, make sure that you are not putting more dough in than what your machine can handle. And also you'll want to use the hook attachment. So I'll just move these guys out of the way here. Put on my guard. And we'll just start it off nice and slow, just to kind of start the mixing. I'm going to mix this in 2 spots. I'm going to mix it just for a couple of minutes, then I'm going to let it sit, and that will hydrate. It'll let the flour take up the water, and then we'll finish off the mixing then after that. So that hydration will probably give it maybe 10 minutes. I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to add my salt in. Now you do want to be careful. Don't put the salt and the yeast on top of each other, or if you have the water in there, don't just throw all the salt in and then the yeast on the other side. You could kill off your yeast. So mix a little bit and then add your salt in. Some people even wait a while during the mixing and then add it in, but just be careful with it. Okay, so that's mixing nicely now. And you're never going to be turning this up full when you're mixing dough. You're just going to destroy the machine and destroy the dough. So just a nice steady mix. And we're going to let this mix for maybe 2 minutes, and then we'll turn it off. We're going to let it sit for about or about five minutes or so, and then we'll finish off the rest of the mix. Okay, so our machine's mixed there for a couple of minutes. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to let it sit. And it won't have come together looking like a nice dough yet. That's going to just take some time. So this is just going to let this sit, sit 5 minutes, 10 minutes even, and you'll see that it will help the whole process. Now, in the meantime, I have here what they call bagel boards, and just made these up. It's burlap, piece of 2x4. I'm going to soak these, so when we make our bagels, we're actually going to be the start of the cooking process. They're going to start on the top of this board, and in fact upside down, and then we're going to flip them over, and they'll cook the rest of the way. So I'm kind of looking forward to using these. All right, so we've taken, it's done. It's kneading in the machine there. I'm just going to take it and kind of give it a little bit of a hand knead here. We got our dough. Now, next thing we want to do is just divide it down into some weights. So I'm going to aim for about 3.5 ounces for each one. Make sure I have my scales on the correct unit. There we go there. That's a little bit too much. I'm going to take a tiny bit more off. There we go, it's about 3.5. Put it on. So we'll work our way through this here. Getting those little tiny bit off this one. There we go. And then we're just going to form these up. And we'll see how many we get here. Now you'll want to be pretty precise, you know, because if you have different sizes, obviously your bagels are going to be different sizes, and you want these to look good. So having uniformity is part of the game. Now this is pretty cheap also to make. If you think about it, we're not using a lot of flour. We're using a tiny bit of yeast, a little bit of salt. So each bagel is going to be very, very economical. Like we'll have a little bit here. We'll just make a small little guy. So got them to this stage. We can now go ahead and form them up. They are going to sit then for a while. They got to proof up again. And I have a tray here. I've put a little bit of oil on the tray, just a very light spray. And that will help them from sticking. So to form these guys up, you just have to roll them out, just like a little snake. And take one end, pop it over your hand, and roll that together. And don't worry if they're not even. So roll them out, pop a piece over, seal it up What you will not want to do is to add any flour to your table because they're not going to stick together. And after these have proofed up, our next thing is to boil them. And they're going to drop into boiling water. And, oops, made a little mess there. That water will add a little bit of our barley syrup in there, just to kind of give it a nice little flavor. Now, you could also round them up, put your thumbs in and make a hole that way, but you know what, this way is just pretty easy. There we go. I was forgetting what I was doing there. And you want to space them out a little bit because they are going to proof a little bit and rise, so you don't want them sticking together on you. A little bit more. And this is a fun thing to do, you know. I said it's very inexpensive. Kind of a great little exercise maybe with your brothers and sisters, or as a family get thing. Make your own pretzels. After you've made them, you know, you could bag them up and freeze them, keep them for after. You could, if you wanted to, at this stage, bag these up, freeze them, or freeze them on a tray, then put them in a bag. Then you could take them out at a later date and let them proof up, keep them covered all the time. That way you can make maybe a bigger batch of dough. But you know, there's nothing like just making your own bread or your own dough, or bagels or pretzels. Pretzels are very similar to these. In fact, we could really make these into pretzels if we wanted to. The process of the boiling, we would use caustic solution like a lye. It's kind of dangerous stuff, but baking soda in the water will kind of give us a bit of the same effect. And looks like I have about 14 here. So they're probably costing somewhere around 3 cents a piece. When you buy your flour in big bags, that is. And we got this little small one here. Okay, so these are going to be covered. We're going to let them sit, let them come up in size, and then we're going to go ahead and do the boiling. Okay, so now we are at the second part of our making our bagels. So I have here some water, and I just had cooked off some more there, but and into this I added a little bit of my barley syrup. Honey would do, a little drop of molasses would do, something just to kind of give it a little flavor. And then you're going to take each of the bagels here, and we just put them right into the water. Just like that. Of course, be careful that you don't burn yourself or anything here. And you want to have the water boiling. This is just a little touch below boiling. And we just want to give it just a couple of minutes. You let it go on one side, and then you flip it over and do it on the other side. And again, be careful, maybe use a slotted spoon. And they are almost ready now. We'll put them onto our tray. Making sure that we get rid of any excess water. So I kind of give it a little shake. And now the next part is putting our toppings on. All right, so toppings. I've got some sesame seeds, I've got some salt. This is some dried onion, dried garlic. So basically, gently, you just turn them over. Get it on there, get it to kind of stick a little bit. I think I'll do a few of these. Will be onion to start with. Just be gentle all the time, okay? And then maybe a little bit of dried garlic. You could shake this on if you wanted to. Don't want to put too much. Oh, got the little guy here. And then we have our sesame seeds. Nice coating there. I think we can get a little bit more on that one. Maybe we'll put a little bit onion. So you can kind of play around with it a bit. Get some onion there. A little bit of salt, maybe. This is some sea salt. And maybe, I think I'll just put a little sprinkle of onion on a couple of these guys. You can use, well, you could use anything really, but maybe some black sesame seeds, stuff like that. All right, so that's that part done. Let's put these to the end. Now it's time to get them in the oven. So I have here some bagel boards. These have been steeping. What we're going to do is to take the bagels, turn them upside down onto the board. And then they're going to go into the oven on the board for about 6 or 7 minutes. And then we'll turn them over, taking them off the board. And we got our last board here. Now for those of you that are in the area here, if you or some of the students, if you're interested in the bagel boards, I can get some for you. Of course, we'd have to charge a little bit, but I'll get that information on how much it'll cost us to make them. So, next thing, into the oven. So we'll take these boards, put them right in. boards are wet, so they're going to make a little bit of steam, so you want to be careful of your hands there. If you have a pizza stone in your oven, that would be perfect for cooking these on. If not, a cookie sheet will work, and you can still use the boards and put them on. But the pizza stone is going to be your best bet. So we'll give those a few minutes, and we'll check back. Okay, now we're going to turn over our bagels. So we just gently, there we go, there's one. Don't forget to have a hot or a dry towel. There we go there. And we'll let our bagels cook out the rest of the way. Go and check our bagels. Oh, I think they might be ready. And we'll get the peel. Don't think they look too bad at all. I'm going to put them right onto a cooling rack. The last one's up here. Now you can make them bigger. These were the 3.5 ounce, and even a 1/2 ounce will make quite a difference. But I think these are, these are big enough. Okay, so we have our bagels are okay. Our bagels are ready here. They're pretty hot, and let me move them over here, and you get like a better close-up of them. I know I should be waiting until they are cold, but give them like a little cut open here. They are hot. Usually you could put a bit of cream cheese on them. I'm partial to butter, as you guys know. And that butter is just melting in. And I'm going to tell you guys how they taste. So, bagels taste great. Hopefully you give it a try. If you're interested in the bagel boards, whatever, send me an email. I'll put the email address down underneath, and I'll find out how much they will cost us to make them and stuff. And I'm going to enjoy this, so thank you for watching the latest video. I'm Chef Frank Murphy from North Bend High School, and talk to you later.